Alright, it's a little bit late. I made it just in time. It's Friday 22nd, it's time for a Chocky Chat. We'll see who joins me tonight. Hope we don't have any technical issues. I had a haircut, so I'm looking smooth. It's just so I can work faster. Smooth is fast and fast is smooth, so that was the reason for that. So who we got tonight? We got Miss Molly's joined us, Christian's joined us. Hi Molly. Who else is there? Let me see. Ollie, Chef on a Hill, hiya. Ivanova, hello. Send some waves out, can't I? Hope everybody's had a good week. Hope everybody's been doing chocolates. I hope everybody has had lots of success this week. Who else has got? Adriana's there. Fat Friday Treats is there. Hello, my friend. How are you? My screen went dark then for a minute. Yeah, I hope everybody's had a really nice week. Make sure I've had a busy week, and it's been all technical stuff. It's things. Making chocolate's one thing. Doing all the technical bits like websites and yeah, it's hot. How's Molly? Join from the car travelling to Wales. Lovely bit of the world. Enjoy Wales. I hope that's a nice, cool weekend away from you. Fat Friday, hello E. Far too excited for Halloween. Yeah, do you know my girls are? It's their last day at school as well today, so I've got them home for a week. So, hi Ollie, mate. You alright? Perfect Chocolates joined us. So yeah, a few people going to join us. Sorry I was a bit late tonight. I had a one-to-one. Somebody in Vancouver of all places. So. I just finished that by the skin of my teeth and kind of jumped on here, so but it is all good. Simon, hello mate, how are you? Chocolate Taste has joined us. Le Petit Chocolatier, hello. Yeah, so I said I was doing a lot of one-to-ones this week, and had lots and lots of questions about. The main one has been about tempering cocoa butter. Rani has joined us, hello. So yeah, a lot of the questions about tempering cocoa butter, or what's going wrong with the cocoa butter, or you know, the biggest question is how do I get shiny chocolates? Well, shiny. If you saw any of the stuff I posted this week, well, the last couple of days actually, where it's like super shiny. It's not one thing. It's a combination of many things, and it's good tempering cocoa butter, and accurately getting those temperatures, and then good tempered chocolate as well, and just making sure that all your temperatures are lined up. Lots of practice, lots of fails, lots of things that have gone wrong, lots of stuff that I've had to work out myself. But yeah, it can be done. Little Dartmoor, hello. Late Chocolates, hello again. Cake Pops has joined us. There's a few people joining in now, aren't there? So, who's got questions? Anybody got questions at all? Is everybody having a good week? That was the main thing. Nadia's joined us. Hi Nadia. Good evening to you. Nadia, you're in Saudi, aren't you? I think you are in Saudi. You posted some lovely stuff this week. Actually, I've seen that. Late Chocolates. Hello. How are you? Who else have we got? Who's got questions? What else have we been doing? Yeah, so launched the website. The biggest learning curve for me this week is, you know, you take pictures on your mobile phone. Miss Tiff's Caramels joined us. Hello. So yeah, you take pictures on your phone, you load them up to Instagram, and it's like, yeah, they're really great, right? And then I use the photos and put them up onto the website. And the second I loaded them, I'm like, oh dear. So it's like, all right, grab the camera, and then it's, you know, the disc, the SD card that's in there is not working. It's like, oh god, it's just one thing after another. But that is all about that's running a business, isn't it? It's you know, no different to when I was in huge kitchens. My whole day was just problem solving, and you know, I think when you're making chocolate, it's exactly the same thing. It's just problem solving all the time, whether that's getting ingredients, getting packaging, machines that don't work, butters that don't temper. It's, yeah, tempering chocolate causes temper. It does for a lot anyway. So couple of people have sent requests to be in the live. I'm not going to do that now at the minute, but it might be that you hit the wrong button. I've been hitting a lot of the wrong buttons this week, been uploading pictures that... You ever done a website and you load the pictures up and you're like, where are the pictures? So yeah, it's awkward, but you know what? It's all part of the learning curve and I don't mind it, so there's nothing I can't do, and if I can't do it, I'll ask somebody and get help, so that's the big one. Yeah, questions this week. The big ugly question about titanium dioxide, so E171, that came up this week. I know Lana Bauer, she posted about it. It's a tough one. I don't know. I've got a couple of questions here. I don't know what's going to happen in the UK. I can only talk on behalf of the UK. I know that titanium dioxide is being banned in Europe. It doesn't just affect, and it's a mineral, right? It's just a white mineral, and it's added to so many things. It does affect chocolate makers, because if you want to do nice bright colours, or you want the opacity, if you want the lighter colours to really pop out, you need to back those with white. And the white cocoa butter has titanium dioxide in it. So I don't know in the UK whether that is going to be banned as well. I'm not really sure. You know, I've read up on the research. I understand the molecular side of it. I understand the legislative side of it. I'm not sure what I've been reading is conclusive. So in terms of, will it be banned in the UK? I don't know. After Brexit, we'll just we will probably follow suit like sheep, because we seem to just take, you know, despite the country voting to leave, it seems that we take on every single policy anyway. So does it affect us in chocolate? Yeah. Do you know that the biggest area that's going to be affected is the bakery side, where it's in a lot of breads, it's in a lot of doughs, because you use it as a bleaching agent. And that'll be a massive effect, and that's a huge. And then if you look at the confectionery industry as a whole, all the icings, all the colours, all the fondants, all that stuff has those colours. All the small sweets, all the hard candies, all that kind of thing, that they all have trace elements of titanium dioxide. So there's a huge knock-on effect. It's also, you know, it's being banned in food, but it's not being banned in industry. So paints and all those things, they will still have it because they're not consumable, edible products. But we'll see. I don't know what's going to happen in the UK. The option will be to back things with white, and I think you'll see, you know, the colourful chocolates, I think you'll see more of them shelled in white chocolate rather than dark. Because if you paint any moulds and you don't back it with white, and you just put in dark chocolate, very rarely do the colours come out. In fact, like, you can hardly see them at all. So, you know, it's yeah, it's a tough one, but we'll wait to see. And you know, like any industry, we'll move on from it. I've seen stuff be banned. I've seen, you know, when the Southampton list of colours came out, all those E number colours got banned. I've got colours that I use that are E free, and they are quite dark. So I really do need to back those with white to get some colour out of them, right? It's just so that they're visual. White chocolate is not bright enough. It works, but it's not amazing. So we'll see. But you know, the industry will move on. I've seen lots of things banned over the years, and you know, we will move on and we'll find the next thing, and it will, you know, we'll have to just get past it, won't we? So we've got a couple of questions here. So Ollie's asking, is it worth buying more expensive cocoa butter rather than the cheaper options? What will happen? Cocoa butter, you know, there's five growing regions, right? Cocoa butter, and within those 5 growing regions, there are hybrids of the individual cocoa pods. I have tried cocoa butter from 3 different regions. I can't really detect the difference. You have deodorized and non-deodorized cocoa butter. I couldn't necessarily tell the difference. There is a funky smell off one rather than the other. I think with an ingredient, Ollie, I think you get what you pay for. I've got, I won't name the brand now, but I've got cocoa butter in drops here, and they're like huge, they're huge round discs, and they are not easy to melt. And then I've got another brand, which are the tiny little baby calettes, and they melt really, really good. Now, when I use the two, and they're 2 very distinct prices, the more expensive one, which is the small dots, the tiny baby calettes, they're more expensive. when I melt that one to 40, I don't get all this foam come up on the top. The cheaper one, when I melt it, I get this foam come up on the top, and I need to scoop that off. So, is there something else in there? Possibly. Is it a more refined process on the expensive one? Yeah, that will dictate the price of it. I think, Ollie, you get what you pay for, to be honest. They will behave the same because they've got beta 5 crystal, and no one crystal will be better than the other, because the quality of that crystal is dictated on how you handle it. So how you melt it, how you cool it down, and how you warm it back up, and stirring it as well, because that produces crystal. So I think you get what you pay for, mate, to be honest, with that one. I've got two varieties, and there is one that I prefer over the other. The cheaper version, if I'm going to put that into praline, so I'll put 10% or so into a praline mix, just because it's going to be bound in. I don't mind using the cheaper one. If I'm colouring my own butter, if I'm doing my own colours of cocoa butter, I will use the more expensive one, simply because you don't get all this foam that comes to the top, and I don't actually know what that is. I've never really researched that, but the cheaper one, yeah, does produce that. So yeah, you get what you pay for, mate. It's worth it. It's worth it. Cocoa butter's not cheap either. It's probably one of the most expensive commodities we use in making chocolate, just because of the refining process, and the yield from a pod is not great. So by default it becomes a bit more expensive. But I would err towards buying the more expensive one, because it also produces the flavour, and it also the flavour of it. When you actually start colouring, I believe it probably makes a better product. So that's where I go with that one. So there's a thing here. So Cup of Coffee, hello mate. Research development, 2 new solutions to replace titanium dioxide. Yeah, there's people. I think the ban has come as a little bit of a shock, because what's happened in previous years is you had to decrease the percentage of what you used within safe limits, and there's no safe limits being made. It's just kind of an outright ban, and it was announced, and it's like 2022, you can't use it anymore. Even if you stockpile it, you can't use it after a certain date. So I think there are companies that are scrambling to find a solution to titanium dioxide, and I'm sure they'll find something. And if not, the industry will just move on, and we'll find a solution to it, because that's what we do with food, isn't it? We can't use it. So question, I'm just testing out some packed fruit recipes. I really struggle to blitz the smooth enough. Admittedly, my food process is crap. The PDF is set too hard. I can't see any food processor handling it right. Couple of things here, Simon, on this one. So packed fruit. The amount of pectin that's in it is important, right? But it's the amount of acid that you put in. The amount of acid is what makes it nets, right? So it nets packed fruit. It nets over, right? As opposed to coils, right, of like gelatin. So it's the amount of acid you can reduce, and also how hot you cook that syrup, right? So it depends what fruit's there. It depends on how much pectin's in there already, Simon. If you put a little bit less acid in it, it won't. If you put less acid in, it won't react so quickly. It's catalytic, all right. So the acid is actually what causes the pectin to set, right? The high temperature brings the syrup together, and then the pectin is the setting agent. But what activates the setting agent is the acid, right? So you can go on a lower citric acid, very very strong. Ascorbic acid, too strong. Fruit acids like lemon juice, orange juice, they will work. So citrus acids. I prefer malic acid because it's just a little bit slower for me. And not quite as harsh if you want to really get the fruit flavours, but not that like eye-watering acidity. Come back in percentage, mate. If you're working those recipes out, I know it's expensive, but there is not one recipe that fits all. When you're trying to make if you're trying to make a gel that's going into trying to make a gel that goes into a bonbon, aim at about 2%, mate. Is what I do. So and I use malic acid as opposed to anything else. Just because I have that and I like that. It's the acid from apples, right? So it's not as harsh. It isn't, the curve on it in terms of it like spiking up and coming down. It's just a gradual rise and a gradual fall off. Whereas citric acid is like wallop straight up, and doesn't really disappear either. So I hope that answers that one for you, Simon. When replacing 59% cream with reduced puree in ganaches, how much butter should be used to replace the fat taken away by reducing the cream? Well, you work that out. If you Nicole, if you write down your recipe and work out what your fat contents are, and you should be able to work out, it's a percentage, so it's out of 100. So as long as you haven't got a random recipe of like 249 grams, keep the recipes as hundreds, you'll be able to work that one out really, really easily. What are you're replacing 59% cream. I don't know if there's a 59% cream. 34 or 38 is cream, as in heavy cream. It says with reduced puree. I'm not really sure I understand that one. I think send me a message on that one, Nicole. We'll have a natter on. Let's see if I can work that one out for you, because it is straight. Replacing the fats is straightforward as long as the recipe isn't complicated. As in, keep the recipe in the hundreds, and you'll be able to track back, because it's a percentage, so it's out of 100. So you'll be able to work that out quite easily. So what else we got? Melissa Chocolate's joined us. Jane's never use white background. Not a problem with the colours on dark chocolate. I don't know. Do you know? I sprayed colours and then put a dark shell in it, and it doesn't really pop out at all. If you've got metallic colours, yeah, they work, but I've never really had any great success myself by putting colours in and then putting dark chocolate on the back of it. It just doesn't stand out at all. I think it depends on what colour you're using, but I think, yeah, I've not had great success with it. Chocolate Jasmine's joined us. Hello. Send a couple of waves out. It's not working. So white chocolate can be fixed with power colours. Yes, it can. Well, yeah, you can, but they've got titanium dioxide in, so we're going to get to a point where we can't actually use it. So that's what you thought. What is that foam on the cocoa butter? I don't know what that foam is on the cocoa butter. There'll be elements of proteins in there. Foams normally are produced by a build-up of protein, so within the fat, so it would be an amino acid of some sort. Could it be? Yeah, I don't know what that foam is, but I've noticed it with the more expensive ones. You don't have that. It's better refining, I guess. And with the cheaper ones, the other thing is the cheaper bag of cocoa butter I've got, it flakes off. So at the bottom of the bag, you've just got all this dust. And that's kind of questionable. So, we know how hard cocoa butter is, but the cheaper one just seems to be quite malleable. So whether that's been blended in with something else, it doesn't. The recipe, the ingredients say it's pure cocoa butter, but there are different varieties and different levels of refining, aren't there? So that's, how do you increase the shelf life of a filling? Reduce the water in it. Fillings. When you're making a ganache, and you make an emulsion, the emulsion will take so much. The amount of emulsion there will capture so much of the water that's in there. What's left over, that is what's measured in terms of water activity. So available water, the available water left after emulsification. So you combine that up with fats. You'll find recipes that use sorbitol glucose. They are good water binders. And then you'll find recipes that have butter at the end, and butter is one of those great things that just trapping down. Once you've made the ganache and you add butter to it and you blend that in with a stick blender or whatever you're using, that's very good at mopping up the last few elements of that available water. So shelf life is not just ganache either, though. Shelf life is the shell structure, and shelf life also is the cap as well. You can get a lovely 10-month, 1 year ganache recipe, but if you've not made a fantastic shell and if you haven't capped it perfectly, it's not going to last that 10 months, right? Because the cap is the seal to stop oxygen getting in. So there's many things that can increase shelf life. Many things that can increase shelf life. A better shelf life is achieved by using UHT cream and not fresh cream. The amount of sugars that you've got in there, obviously you can only put so much sugar in sucrose, but then you can take some of that out and replace that with a DE glucose or a sorbitol. And there's lots of sugars that you can use. There's lots of sugars that you can use, but it is a whole scientific area. That it is you can't just say, well, I'll add this and it will give me another month. Actually, there's a whole formula that you need to look at for that one. A lot of companies in the UK won't accept titanium dioxide now. Not sure what we'll do with that colour. It's just one of those things. Somebody's made that decision. And that's that. It's going to be a challenge. There's a lot of people in the chocolate industry and the patisserie industry kind of questioning how did this come around so quickly. So Simon, send me that. Simon, send me that recipe. Yeah, Simon, send me that recipe by direct message, and then I can have a look at it, because I can't save those on here. So I'll have a look at that and just see how that measures up. Looking at it, that looks like a lot of pectin to me. Glucose, that looks like a lot of pectin, and that looks like a lot of malic acid as well. 3 grams is a lot, unless that's 1.5, unless that's a 50-50 water solution, in which case you do 3 grams. So you do a 3 grams malic acid, 3 grams of water. But that looks like a lot of malic acid to me. That looks a huge amount. The amount of malic acid there looks like what you'd add to the sugar after you've cut them and you bang them in the sugar. So, Mother Baker's joined us. Hello. Who else we got? Chocolate Escapade. Hi, Melissa. Leslie's joined us. Hi, Leslie. Leslie, I saw that egg that you did earlier in the week. The white chocolate egg was absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. So, do you freeze bonbons sometimes, Harvey? Chris Harvey's talking about on Instagram. Do you have more info about that? Do you know what? Yeah, you can. If you're doing big volumes, it's not a problem to freeze them at all. All freezing does, it stops the clock on the shelf life, right? So if you're trying to stock up and you've got a good freezer, what you do need to do is protect them from moisture. Freezers are very, very wet. So if you've got vac pack, that's great. So you can put the chocolates into a tray, solid tray with a lid on, and then vac pack the air out of it. If you don't have vac pack, you can put them into a tray, cling film the top, put the lid on, cling film it again. I put a little food safe silica pack in there. Nothing wrong with freezing it at all. When it comes out, put it into the fridge, and then so take it out of the freezer, put it into the fridge for 24 hours. After 24 hours, take them out, leave them for an hour or two, because when they come out, they'll be cold and they'll attract some moisture, right? And then they'll kind of be good to go. So it's not a problem freezing them at all. If you're doing big volumes, it's not a problem at all to freeze them. In fact, the very basic makeup of them is that you've tried to reduce the water that's in them. And when you freeze things that are high water content, that's where you have problems. Whereas with the bonbons, the chocolate's dry matter. The bonbon, you should have, the ganache, you should have kind of reduced all the water in there anyway. So there's nothing really to expand, and I think that's the nice thing about freezing bonbons. If you need to, there's nothing to expand, so they won't crack. But yeah, not a problem at all. And Chris Harvey's thoughts on it were, yeah, you should. If you're building up stock, if you've got a few thousand orders for December, you're not going to start that the week before. So it's not a problem building up stock at all, and use the freezer for that. It's really not a problem at all. Who else? You've got a few people more joins. So can we replace sorbitol by glucose 1-to-1? No, not really. Glucose is depends on the DE. So it's the dextrose. DE just means dextrose equivalent, right? So glucose, some of them, if it says 60 DE, so it's 60 the power of sugar, right? 60% less the power of sugar. Sorbitol, I think, is around about 40, so it's not as sweet. You could technically swap it like for like, not a real problem at all. But sorbitol is significantly more expensive than glucose. So what you would do is, 60-70% of glucose, and then make the rest up with sorbitol, so you've got an addition of sugar in there. The key things about those is that they're not sweet. So if you're making ganache If you're making a ganache from white chocolate, it would be very, very sweet, right? If you needed to get more sugars in there to balance it out with the fats, you don't want to add sucrose to it, which is sugar. You want to add a glucose to it. You want to add a sorbitol to it that has no sweetness to it. Otherwise, you're going to end up with something that's so sickly sweet, it will knock off every other flavour that's going on in there. But Sorbitol's a brand name as well. There's others available. There's others that are available. It's not none. There's no real easy answer to that. Yes, you can, but I think it would depend on the chocolate. It would depend on the chocolate. It would depend on the fat content. It would depend on, you know, if you've got any fruit going in that ganache as well, what that sugar content is. So there's some things that you kind of need to maybe work out there. What else we got? Yeah, Leslie, that cake, that egg that you paid, that was absolutely stunning. So yeah, really, really, really amazing. Okay, what else? Fancy Nancy's joined us. How is Nancy? You're showing some lovely pictures of the shop, and I hope that's all coming together. And I hope you're all on. I hope that you are all on track with that one. I think lots of us are kind of watching what you're doing, and yeah, it looks really, really interesting. So looking forward to it. But I think when you posted the other days, like you've had all the what was you having in the walls? What's it called? Not the I wanted to say ventilation. I can't think of the word right now, but yeah, having all the walls stuffed. So can't think of the I can't think of the word for it there. Thanks. I hope the colours don't fade. Well, I don't know what that means. What else? Got any other questions there? Any other questions? Everybody's been a bit quiet, aren't they? I missed any questions out. Let me go and have a look. Halal's joined us. Jeff's joined us. Sweet Dark's joined us. Hello. Miss Creations, hello. Mother Baker, you must have some questions. How's Northern Ireland? How's things over there? My page has stopped. So, any food additives can be added to chocolate. When you say food additives, you can add whatever you want to chocolate. It just can't be wet. You just can't have any moisture to it. Otherwise, it will dissolve the fats. It will dissolve the sugars. You'll end up with bloom. You'll end up with all kinds of problems. But in terms of, like, if you're doing bean to bar, if you're putting stuff, if you're making chocolate in tig melanges, yeah, as long as it's dry matter, you can put anything in there. In terms of food additives, I'm not really sure. I'm not sure. Do you mean as in nutritional? Because, like, yeah, why not? The problem is you can't make a claim, because trading standards would suggest that if you're going to put, say you put more, vitamin D into chocolate, I don't know why you would. If you're going to put vitamin D in there, you can't claim that it's got health benefits unless you sent it to labs to be, tested. So I tried colouring white chocolate and failed miserably. Any tips? Fat Friday. If you're colouring chocolate, you need to use fat soluble colouring. I have used my. I added red. I've added red and I've added black to chocolate. I did black cocoa butter to dark chocolate, and that worked successfully. That was fine. When I added the red colouring to the white, it made it very, very pasty for some reason. I think I now know that if you're going to colour chocolate, use a fat soluble powder. Don't use gels. You need a fat soluble colour. It needs to be fat soluble. If you put anything water based in there, your chocolate will seize. But you can't, fat soluble colour. That's all it is. And use a powder. Don't use a gel, because you'll change the viscosity to it. I think that's it, really. I think I was helping somebody recently, who had a tub of red colouring and it said fat soluble, and when we looked into it more it actually wasn't. And every time they tried to make their coloured cocoa butter it was failing miserably, as in they were spraying their mould and then it was just running out, and the cocoa butter was stuck in the mould and the colour was actually running out. So I think buy from a reputable supplier with fat soluble colours and make sure they are fat soluble. Mother Baker's saying it's been a busy week. I'm doing chocolate spiders and bars and pumpkins right now, and they're all tempering up really well. Good stuff. Yeah, I did and bats. Happy days. Yeah, I've done some. I did the Halloween selection, which kind of I think I got 3 left, and they've sold out. So yeah, I was humbled at how many orders I've had, and then I've done the next selection, and they're selling quite quickly. So yeah, it's kind of getting ready for Halloween. It's quite, it's a nice time of year to just kind of have a play and a creative play with Halloween, actually, because you can kind of go crazy and just kind of do your own thing, right? I like doing the eyeballs. They attracted quite a lot of interest. Purple spiders, very nice. What's the reason the cocoa butter in stock is stuck in the mould and not on the chocolate? Is it too hot? No. Right, Jane. Really common one, this one. You need to. So there's a couple of things that need to happen here in order, right? You need to temper your cocoa butter properly. So heat it to 40 or 45, doesn't matter. Nothing magical happens, but you need to melt it so that it's all melted. All the crystals that are in there are melted. And then cool it down in cold water, not iced water, in cold water, around about 26. I do it to 26. Cool it down to 26 while you're stirring, and then warm it back up to 28 or 30. 28 if I'm 30 if I'm spraying, 28 if I'm painting. The reason it gets stuck, the cocoa butter gets stuck in the mould, is there's a couple of reasons for it. One is poor tempering. So when the cocoa butter, when it starts crystallizing and it sets, it doesn't set evenly, and you can't see them, but there are bits in there that kind of remain white. A bit like when you melt chocolate and you take it too high and you leave it on the side, it never sets. It just never ever sets because there's no crystals there to make it solidify. The other thing is that when you put your chocolate in the mould, it needs long enough in there. It needs long enough in there for the cocoa butter to adhere to the chocolate while it's crystallizing. If you put the chocolate in and scrape it, tap it out, and you leave it on the side to crystallize like you should, if you're in the habit of putting it in the fridge, if you put it in the fridge too early, it will retract too quickly, and it's not had time for all of the cocoa butter to adhere across. The other thing is, when it has fully crystallized and you put your filling in and you cap it, you need to just chill that for 5 more minutes. You put your cap on, you leave it at room temperature, just so that the cap can find its own level, because that's how you get them nice and smooth. You put it in the fridge just to chill off, and you'll find that when you look underneath it, it will attract it. Poor tempering is normally the reason it gets stuck in the mould. The other reason is that if the chocolate is not warm enough, and I think there's a video on my page where I specifically put chocolate in at 26 degrees, and I made the shells, and when I tapped them out, half the shell was missing because it hadn't had time to adhere across. So that would be the reason for that one. And if it's where you say it next to it there, you said, is it too hot? No. If you put the chocolate in, it's too hot. When you tip it out, you'll see all your colour will slide down the side. The other experiment I did is I did chocolate at 35 and I put it in the moulds, and they were blue, and literally as I was tapping it, I was just watching all the blue colour drop along with the chocolate, to the point that whatever design I put in the mould as an experiment had disappeared. So 33 is too hot, 33 will melt your cocoa butter too fast, and 26, the chocolate isn't hot enough to come across. The other thing is the shell was really thick, but 26 degrees, the chocolate isn't hot enough to melt the cocoa butter on the side of the mould, so it doesn't adhere across. So that will be the reason for that. Use colour milk for curry. Yeah, colour milk, brilliant. Colour milk, really, really good if you can get hold of it, if it's in stock. Yeah, do it. That's what I use tonight to colour my white chocolate. Yeah, colour milk's good. Power flowers for white chocolate colour. Yes, you can. Yeah, but power flowers are just cocoa butter already coloured. That's all they are, in little shapes. They're really good. I like them. When they first came out, I used them at the restaurant, I used them at the hotel. They were really, really good, and they were good for measuring. When we were making things like macaroons, and it was warm, we could actually add the power colours. Just we dropped 4 in for the recipe, right? So we got the same colours every single time, and they were really good. Because to try and get chefs to measure 0.25 of a gram was not easy, because eventually they'd just go, yeah, that's enough. And you'd end up with vivid, bright, or dull, pasty looking. So I'll have a go. And back on Christmas chocolates this week, had loads of cake orders. Susie Floozy Cakes, happy days. As long as you've got money coming in, that is absolutely what it's all about. What else? Good evening. Hello, mate. Marvellous. How are you? I'm really well. I'm really good, actually. I've seen you were at market, weren't you, today? Marvellous. You were, I saw you at the market today, weren't you? So I hope everything went well. I hope you sold out. I hope you came back with nothing and it all left. So, and I love some of the stuff that you've been painting this week has been really, really, really good. So, and you do the domes. I know we did some training. You do the domes that are slightly bigger, aren't you? And I kind of quite like the idea of that. Kind of got me thinking about something, but yeah, I'm really well, thank you. How are you? What's that? So for Liz Marshall, you only need a couple of drops. You won't get dark colours unless you mix with dark chocolate. Yeah, definitely. What else? Choco Ritz has joined us. You're coming to London for the parade. Okay, so right, Mother Baker. We should explain that we're veterans, right? So I am a veteran-owned business, and I am very proud to have worn an army uniform. So you're coming to, so you're doing the Cenotaph parade. That's absolutely brilliant. We've got the Cub Scouts one, so I'm going to get dress medals on and go and do that, because November the 11th is an incredibly special day for me, and yeah, it's. I think for anybody that's ever served, I think it's an incredible day, and it's a very, very special day. It means a lot to me, that one. So, but yeah, Mother Baker, we should explain. We're both veterans, hence the weird joke sometimes. But who else has got any questions? Marvellous. You said yep. So the market went well. That was a thumbs up, right? Get out there and meet the public and talk stuff. Who else? Have I missed any questions here? I'm trying to scroll down. I'm trying to do this as best as I can tonight. So, just have a quick scan. So, what we got? Sold out. Oh, well, that's brilliant. Sold out today and back again tomorrow. I have some bookings for weddings next year. Absolutely brilliant. You know, market's not something I'm going to do. I have contracted chocolates that I do. And then I've got stuff that I'm putting on. I'm slowly loading up onto the web. I've got more stuff to do this weekend. But yeah, it's kind of, you know, I think it's wherever you can get avenues of sales, right? Until kind of the Christmas orders start. So, the whole chocolate, it's, you know, ebbs and flows in it, peaks and troughs. You're monster busy, and then suddenly it goes quiet for a little bit. So, Mother Baker's slightly more posh than you. Yeah, well, you know what? Let's not get into the debate on let's not get into a debate on who is the senior service, because obviously we know it's the army. I love the domes. Have fab ideas ahead. Maybe we can chat. Yeah, I'd love to have a chat again. Yeah, the larger domes. I think what you can do with the larger domes is you can get a bit more creative in terms of what you can paint on there. There is something that I wanted to do from a Remembrance Day, and to do it in the tiny moulds that I've got. And they're not tiny moulds, but mine are 15-gram moulds. But to paint on the inside and duplicate it all the way across is like, oh dear, how am I going to do this without using a stamp? And it's a challenge. But I recognise, like, with the larger domes, you get a bigger surface area to paint with, and also because of the volume that's going in there, it's probably much more stable when you when you transport it as well. I find that some of my stuff that I post, despite putting cushion pads bottom and above, some of them flip over. Real challenge. So, what's the process of adding colouring to the chocolate? Snickerdoodle. What do you mean? What's the process of adding colouring to the chocolate? Fat soluble colour, and my advice is, if you want the same colour, you need to measure the amount of chocolate, and you need to measure the amount of powder that goes in and write it down. You can add, but you can't take away. And if you put in too much and it's really, really too bright, it depends on the percentage. Depends on how bright you want to get the colour. I had a green, I had a lime green fat soluble colour. That was a colour mill one actually, and I put it into the white chocolate, and this thing just looked like it would have been good for Halloween. It was day glow. But to thin it down, I ended up using 4 times the amount of chocolate, and it's like, no, oh my god, I've got 4 kilos of chocolate that I can't actually use now. So yeah, lesson learnt there. So any tips about packing bonbons during holidays so clients get them in good condition? That is such a tough one actually. Cushion pads, solid boxes. You can't. People are demanding that you use less plastic, and people are demanding that you have more eco-friendly packaging. The problem is you recognise that you can kind of put bubble wrap around the box or plastic. You have an insert that's in there, possibly plastic. Where do you draw the line? I make chocolates with lovely shine, and I want the customers to get them, and occasionally I get a picture and I look at the pictures that people send me, and it's like I know that they didn't leave here looking like that. I've also had one recently that literally looks like it had a thumb put down through the box. So you can't control all that. Once I've posted it, it's kind of out of my hands. I think that you need to make the box up so that when you give it a shake, it doesn't rattle, so that things don't flip over. It is a real challenge, the packaging, unless you get the blister pack domes, which again, it's a single-use plastic. And most people, I get orders and people say, I don't want any plastic in the box, or I want minimum. Well, yeah, I've tried to reduce all the plastic in my business, including packaging. But there's some things that you kind of do need to do, and I'm questioning the bubble wrap. I really, really am. I'm on the fence on it at the minute. So obviously you can always add, newspaper, but if I go back 20 years, it was about to save the trees. Now it's about not using plastic, and we're going back to using all the trees, and it's who knows on that one. But you're getting the right foil pack for the right size chocolate. That's an important thing as well. What you don't want is stuff shifting left and right, and you don't want them to flip over. So who else we got? Disha's joined us. Who else? Julie's joined us. Mayosh has joined us. Anybody else got any questions? What time we got? It's 1:15. No Mr. Peters tonight. I think he's having an early night, isn't he? So, marvellous. I've had that a couple of times. I know the way I've sent them, and I've taken photos, so I know it's left here. Only use cardboard in my packaging, but it's definitely a challenge. It really, really is. The packaging is a challenge. I love the idea of the plastic domes. I don't like the idea of adding more plastic in, having gone through all the effort of. I've got rid of nearly every bit of plastic that I can. I've really consciously tried to think about single-use plastics and how I can challenge that. I got young girls, and with the education at school, they're really hot on it. So we are looking at that. It's not just the reusable bags. I even looked at the printing when you have menu cards printed, and it's, do I want to use more oil-based paints to print a card, which I know people just throw out? And it's a tough one. How's Ron doing? Ron's doing all right, actually. I spoke to Ron earlier. I thought he was going to come on tonight. I'm going to try and invite him on one night. I'm going to invite Ron on to have a little chat with us, because Ron's been doing this a while, like me, and I think he's probably got some really nice insights actually. I think he's in Pennsylvania. I think originally he's from New Orleans, but he's working out of Pennsylvania now. I know he was very poorly. He's probably in the background watching. I know he's very poorly, but he came out of hospital, he went back into hospital, but he's doing okay, and he's actually started making some more. He's started to make some more chocolates now. He's got a couple of orders, and he's been doing some stuff. So yeah, Ron is doing all right. So I will send him everybody's regards. Piping bags, I'd like to ditch those. Any suggestions? No, not really. Make paper ones. You can make paper ones, but you end up wasting product because it all sticks in there. They're not very easy to scoop out. 3 or 4 years ago, I got sent some bags that were made from cornstarch, and they were okay. They were a trial product, right? Through a very big company. One of the biggest chocolate companies produced them, and I think it was a trial. They sent them out to various chefs to have a look at. I tried them, and they were just an absolute disaster. They're too thin, and they're too thin. You couldn't put any pressure on them. It was a nice idea, but I think it kind of needs revisiting. But I think, you know, every industry's got more stuff to do in terms of like plastics. And the food industry, I think the biggest problem we've got is we talk about food grade quality standard, and I don't want to put. I know how porous cardboard is, and I recognise that we're trying to send. We put the effort into making food really safe, the fillings and the AW, and using the right ingredients and clean schedules and all the stuff that you have to do, only to put it into possibly packaging that's not safe is I struggle with that as well. So unfortunately, we do need to use a few plastics. You get the little paper cups. I'm not sure I'm a fan of those, because the other thing is that they flip over, and I don't think they look very neat and tidy. When we're in an industry where we're trying to show off the best of what we got, yeah, it's a real challenge. It is a real challenge what to do, and it's conscience over logic, right? But not these. I've been marvellous. I've been asked to read vegan chocolates. Any suggestions? Vegan chocolates. See if you can duplicate the stuff that you're doing already. All right. From my restaurant days, so you know, Michelin star kitchens. You have a table of 6, right? And it's very nice that, you know, for a couple of the courses that the vegans get what looks exactly like the others, only it's plant-based. That's a real tick in the box, that one. I'd have a look at the fillings in your current range and see if any of those can be duplicated but plant-based, right? That'd be my advice for that one. So other thing, did you try to fit beer in your recipes or try to pair it with your chocolates? No, I don't use alcohol at all in any way, shape or form. I don't use it for cleaning, and I don't use it in fillings at all. Majority of my clients is halal, and I'm going to stick with that because it's a good market for me. So I don't do alcohol in anything at all. What else we got? Louis Beckett's joined us. Is it Louis? Chef Alat has joined us. Hi Louis, how are you? You alright, mate? Pastries Genoa. Who else? Chocolate Collective joined. Hello. Trying to send waves out here, but my phone's not having it. Hope Chocolate's joined us. Who else? Jackson Fernandez has joined us. Hello, mate. Trying to send a few more waves out. I've got a question here. The Blind Chocolatier, where do you get the packaging? I'm not going to answer that, because you know what? Do you know what? The biggest. I'm not going to answer it to be rude. I'm going to answer it from the perspective of this is my business and this is the stuff that I invested in. Go online, type in the packaging. You can find lots. All right, but I think, like, in terms of the packaging, anybody that's actually doing chocolate, it's a whole learning curve to know what this stuff is made and know your measurements. You get stuff from China after many hours of negotiating. I got some of the packaging on the way that I wanted to have made. I think there's, where are you, blind chocolatier? There are only a few in the UK, and I think all the forums and all the Facebook book groups say all that. So I know, Damien Wager at Edible Art, number one question he gets asked. I get asked that question. I mean, it must have been 20 times today. Where do I get my packaging? I don't think my packaging at the minute is anything super special. It's pretty standard stuff. Excuse me, but I think, you have to, the research. There's only a couple of companies in the UK that will do chocolate packaging. Have a look at Keylink. They've got some stuff. They're probably one of the most helpful. They've been the most helpful supplier to me. Phil at Eco Baker. I don't know if he does packaging. I mean, I spoke to him earlier tonight, but I think do some research on that packaging. Contact a company, get a representative to give you a call back, because the whole packaging industry, it's a huge area, and they talk about stuff you have no idea. They have acronyms for everything. But yeah, I can have a look at that. So. Yeah, Louis, nice to see you, mate. Nice to see you well. You've been doing some nice stuff this week, haven't you? So, Sharon, you're welcome. Shefalat, salam alaikum, my friend. How are you? What else? What other questions? Have I missed any questions? Do you know, Irma at Chocolate Malvern? Do you know, it's interesting you say about the piping bags, because that's the piping bags. Like when I'm doing big volumes, right? The number of piping bags you go through is alarming. Because I buy the 100 rolls, and just before you know it, you're like halfway through, and they're all thrown out. The problem is they've got to be strong enough so you can pipe the filling in. And there's no, unless you buy a quick shot, there's no real easy way around it. But at some point you still need a piping bag, whether that's a plastic one or a paper one. So Mother Baker, packaging at the minute is a nightmare. Cake boxes in short plastic. Packaging in this company is packaging in the UK right now is an absolute nightmare. It is short of stock everywhere. Everything seems to be out of stock, and it's an absolute nightmare. For anybody that's doing cakes, patisserie, home producing, even people in industry, even people in high street shops. I've got a friend that's got a chain. He owns a chain of delis, and he's pulling his hair out, just trying to get packaging. And he owns a chain of shops. It's not one or two. It's many. So. Yeah, bit of a nightmare. So, fancy Nancy. Order boxes from China. It's going to take 80+ days. Yep. Yep. And you know what? Don't want to sound negative, but I've been down this route, and they're like, "Yeah, it'll be with you in 10 days," and then you get an email that says it's going to be another 40 days, and then you get another, and that's the frustration. But yeah, packaging is just the biggest single headache. If you think setting up a website is hard, if you think trying to connect commerce to your website is hard work, you get into the packaging. And I'm no expert on that, so I can't really advise on that. My life is chocolate and how chocolate works. So yeah, that's Mother Baker. It's a bit of a mirror. 80 days, mate. That is, Nancy. That's a long time to wait for packaging. And I think you were looking to open, weren't you? Mid-November, right? So that's a tough one. Okay. Right, it's nearly past, guys. So I'm going to make a runner. I hope that I'm a bit tired tonight. I did a one-to-one earlier, and it's kind of taking it out of me. I'll load this up onto I'll load this up onto YouTube a little bit later on. I'll load it onto Instagram. One-to-ones, if anybody's got any issues, don't feel free to just message me, book a one-to-one. It's not expensive, it's not hugely expensive at all. Probably be an hour's really, really well spent. So, but certainly give me a shout. If you've got any questions, fire them over in the week and I can help you answer them if you're stuck with anything. Other than that, have an absolute fab weekend. Enjoy. These come around so quickly, but enjoy Halloween. I don't know whatever night you're doing that, if you're doing trick or treat, but yeah, have a good weekend. Thank you everybody for joining me. That was the quickest hour I think I've ever had. I didn't really answer that many chocolate things, I don't think, did I? Anyway, have a really good weekend, and I'll speak to you all soon. Take care.